HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for black baseball's ultimate prize. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working.
Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield, never not working.
Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music. The Creole Seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole Seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together we can be the change.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for black baseball's ultimate prize. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield, never not working.
Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music. The Creole Seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole Seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
But earmuff, you stay on hard.
All right, welcome to another live edition of the BCSN Sports Wrap. Brian Fulford and AD Drew here. Here in March. March Madness is upon us. We appreciate you joining our show. If you're watching us on Facebook and YouTube, go ahead and get us started by hitting a like, hitting that thumbs up wherever you're watching our show. And go ahead and let somebody know we got 2 hours of basketball coverage to get into. We're going to recap an exciting weekend of basketball on all levels, men and women's basketball. We had conference tournaments, we had national tournaments, and we've even got selection bracket stuff going on right now as you're watching us live. So again, if you're watching us, go ahead and hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The chat rooms are open. Make sure you download that Jericho Broadcast Networks app on your Google, Apple Play Store, MyJBN, and My BCSN. And, yeah. So, look, full transparency here on this show, because Drew and I have been doing this show for 5 years now. And we use this show as a distraction. And we become, I mean, obviously Drew and I knew each other from college, but I think we've probably become better friends through this show than we were in college, where we had mutual friends. And so, you know, as we've gotten to know each other, and this show has been a part of our lives, and this show and the normalcy that this show brought into my life with recent events, with my mother's passing, was really big. And that the outpouring of prayers and support was very important to me, and I'm very grateful for everybody. And so it's with some sad news that I need all of our prayer warriors to turn our prayers and attention over to AD and his family at this time as they are dealing with a tragedy within their family. Uh, Drew, I don't know. You got your. I hear in your background, Drew. Can you hear me? I can hear a lot of stuff going on in the background. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, man. I had thought I had
Okay,
turned
okay.
down the
Yeah, no
TV.
worries.
Got the brackets up on
I
CBS
know.
on the flat screen, and
You got like 5 TV cameras and just like I do.
yeah,
And so what I was saying,
exactly.
look, folks, we got a lot to talk about, but we got this is a distraction. This is sports. This is entertainment, and sometimes real life gets in front of those kind of things. So if you would bear with us and just give us a moment, I can't start the show and say, "Hey, Drew, how you doing?" because I know that answer. I've been there, and so with that, I want to turn it over to you, Drew, and express my condolences, thoughts, and prayers on the. If you don't mind me sharing, do you mind me sharing, or would you like to do it?
You can go
The
ahead, my brother.
passing, the recent passing of AD's sister, his younger sister, Cora Faith Walker of St. Louis, who was called home on Friday. And so, on behalf of everyone within the Black College Sports Network family, to my family, to yours, Drew, we extend our condolences and prayers and thoughts. And as I've talked to you over the last 2 days, I know just trying to have some normalcy is sort of like the distraction that helps right now. So I want to give you a moment to kind of talk about your sister as much as you care to talk about at this point in time.
Yeah, Brian. Obviously, we're trying to make some sense out of all this. When you see my youngest sister, when you see a young, healthy African American lady with I can't even say with a bright future, who has done more in her short time here on Earth than most of us would ever dream to do. Uh, you know, she was an attorney. She was a former state representative in the state of Missouri. And for those who may or may not know, the district that she represented was Ferguson, Missouri. She was the first representative elected after the tragedies of 2014 in Ferguson, Missouri, which made that area so famous with Mike Brown. So she was the next person elected. Not only was she elected, but she won the election with an overwhelmingly 83% of the vote, which tells you how popular she was in that particular area. And she was so popular that she ran unopposed the second time, Brian. No one was dared to step out there to run against her. And then she moved on from there to become the chief policy maker for the chief policy advisor for St. Louis County. Worked directly behind the just up under the county executive, which is the equivalent of the county commissioner or the mayor, for those who are not familiar with that term. And like I say, just got the call at work on Friday, and it's been tough, man. You know, that's just not one that you. That was not the call that I was expecting when my father called me at work on a Friday morning. That's all I can say. So, like I said, she passed away very unexpectedly Friday, and you can Google it, Core Faith Walker. You can see all of her accomplishments. It's been on not only on social media but on mainstream media. I was on all the networks in the state of Missouri. God, yes. And the tough thing, and I was telling you about this today, you know, death is already hard enough, Ryan. But when it's a public figure, someone that is in the public spotlight who's done so much for their community, community leader, and everything like that, it's even tougher because you don't have that privacy that you just had with your recent mother's passing. You've got your family, you got your friends of the family and things like that, but you know, not only do we have that, but we've got to deal with other politicians, other media members, and people asking questions and all that just because of who she was. Nothing bad. There's nothing bad about it, but you have that added element that most times in 95% of deaths, 98% of deaths, you don't have to deal with. So it's been tough not only on me, all my brothers and sisters, and my parents, and of course her husband Tim. So I don't know if any of them are watching or if they do go back and watch this, but it's tough.
Yeah.
And thank you for I've seen a couple of comments come across the screen. Thank you to the listeners. Some of them have already responded on my Facebook page, on my Twitter page. I want to thank all those people, and then thank also to the BCSN family who's reached out to me, and everybody else who's already reached out, and those who continue to reach out. Former classmates of mine, her former classmates. So just thanks to everybody.
Yeah. Cora Faith Walker. Those that just saw the photo, a beautiful, beautiful smile. I never had the pleasure of meeting her, but again, my condolences to your family, your brothers and sisters, of course, you and it's kind of one of those things where I guess being able to help each other through this is kind of one thing that we've kind of found ourselves in sports and being able to pull ourselves through a lot of stuff through sports, and this is something that hopefully we can I just say hopefully I can be a part of helping you through this, and I know you'll be there to help me pull through, and so that's how we'll kind of work together in some form of fashion to help us both get through this as best as we can. So you guys out there, just keep Drew as we try to make a hard left back into the sports world. But you guys, reality and real world stuff, real life stuff happens around us all the time. And so just keep Drew and everybody and his family, his siblings, parents, Cora's husband, keep them in your prayers and thoughts. And we appreciate all those thoughts and prayers. I mean, they're needed. So, again, as we try to transition, you want to add something?
I know I was going to say before we go into the next session, let's take a quick break.
Sure. Yeah, I totally feel that. Let's take a quick break. We're coming back. When we come back out of the break, we're going to talk about the MEAC and SWAC tournaments that happened over the weekend. We've got a Division II team that's in the midst of pulling off another upset in the D2 men's tournament. And we got plenty more to talk about. Hang in there with us. Share, like, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back in just a moment. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap.
200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for black baseball's ultimate pride. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield. Never not working.
Welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Brian and AD here. It's March Madness season. We got plenty to talk about. Recap from the SWAC and the MEAC championships. We've got live bracket coverage happening right now on CBS. I don't think I've seen the announcement yet for Norfolk State or Texas Southern. We'll talk about that. We do have a D2 in action at the moment, Drew. Let people know what's happening there on the Division II level.
Right now, with just under 10 minutes to go, West Virginia State is up 52-44 over Cal U of, is it Indiana or Pennsylvania? I can't remember.
Pennsylvania, Cal U of Pennsylvania, apparently. Okay. And live reaction, I've just seen they revealed in the Midwest region, Texas Southern is in the first four game playing Texas A&M Corpus Christi. The winner of that game will go on to play Kansas. So Texas Southern, we kind of anticipated Texas Southern, of course, back-to-back MEAC SWAC champions. We'll talk a little bit about them and what they've done over the recent terms. But just to make mention, as you mentioned, that live score happening on Division II level, West Virginia State is the only Division II school, men or women's, to advance past the opening round. Now, again, they went 64 teams in D2, just like they did in the NAIA and in the NCAA. West Virginia State, in the opening round, defeated West Liberty. West Virginia State is a 7 seed from the Mountain East, record of 24-7. In overtime, they defeated 2 seed West Liberty 103-94. In that contest, Glenn Abram, Mr. 2000, had 26 points, 7 boards, 8 assists. Noah Jordan had 22 points and 12 rebounds. Jeremiah Moore and 15 points and 11 rebounds. And then, of course, as you said, Drew, we are live stat watching. It's getting a little tight now. It's a 1-point ball game with about 8 minutes to go there. So that game is live. So West Virginia is looking to get to what at the Division II level they call the regional finals, but you might be more familiar with it as the Sweet 16. So the winner of this contest will play on Tuesday at 7:00 against either the 1 seed Indiana PA or I believe that is the 4 seed Mercyhurst. So we just concentrate on them. We'll talk about those D2 performances in a moment. But Drew, let's start with Texas Southern as their bracket just came up, revealed they're in the Sweet 16 in the first 4 for the second consecutive year. But what's funny, Drew, the reason we call this show Deja Vu, 3 of the 4 teams that went to the tournament last year are back going dancing again. And the one new team actually was probably 1 or 2 free throws away from going last year, and that would be Howard. So of course you had Texas Southern.
Update, Brian. Sorry, cut you off. Update. Cal U is just taking a 1-point lead with 7 minutes to go.
All right, so you're head. Well, see now I'm showing. So let's do this. Let's kind of wait until we get to maybe about a 3-minute mark. Yeah, because my stat thing
is going back and forth.
Exactly. See, I was ahead of you on that point. So see, I was ahead of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you had Norfolk State, Texas Southern, winners of the MEAC and SWAC respectively. You had Jackson State with the perfect season, finished off the perfect season, 21-0 going back to the tournament. And then Howard women, who again, I mean, they lost by 1 point, I believe they lost last year to North Carolina A&T. They were up 2. They lost by 1 on a 3-pointer in the corner, where had they made a free throw or had they made 1 of 2 free throws, worst case, it would have gone to overtime. If they would have made 2 free throws, they would have still been up. So, I mean, they basically lost on a last-second buzzer last year. And so this year, Howard gets it done. But, Drew, let's kind of go through the SWAC. Let's go through the SWAC, and let's talk about the big story coming out of the SWAC. And, of course, that's Jackson State women. The dominance continues with a 101-80 win over Alabama State. Pretty impressive performance for Jackson State. Their perfect season. They just passed Stanford for the longest winning streak of the year with 21 consecutive wins, all coming in conference play. They now have won 37 in a row against SWAC opponents. Deja Rogan was the most valuable player of the tournament. Amisha Williams-Holiday was on the all-tournament team. Maya Crump actually led Jackson State in scoring, I believe, with 22 points in the contest. She was on the all-tournament team, as well as Ayana Emanuel from Alabama State, Jayla Crawford from Alabama State, Alexis Holt for Grambling. We've talked about how UConnish this Jackson State run is. What kind of seeding do you think Jackson State should get? And I'll give you maybe back it up with some numbers on what they will get.
Realistically, I would think that they will. You're hoping for a 15 or better. I think they could get as high as a 14. Don't think there's their floor is going. I don't think their ceiling is going to be any higher than a 14, though. Just give it the committee, despite the fact that they're the only team that's gone through their regular season and postseason undefeated. Just because if we talk about SWAC bias, well, that bias works both ways, good and bad sometimes. And just because the conference rating overall is not up there with some of the other mid-major conferences, despite their individual accomplishments, I think they're going to be slightly penalized for it. It would be nice to see them on the 13 line, but I think they'll be a 14.
Is it really biased though? I mean, or is it just facts. I mean, at what point? I mean, I know there's.
And we also got to remember Jackson State. Jackson State was what 6-6 coming out of non-conference.
Yes, I believe they were because their current record is 20. Oh, I don't even have their current record in front of me.
No, they were 2-6 coming out of non-conference.
2-6 coming out of conference.
Out of non-conference.
I'm gonna.
They have 23 wins. They got 23 wins. So 23-6. They won 21 in a row. Do I have that right?
Hold on. I'll tell you here in a second. I'm pulling up their schedule right now. So they were 23-6 is the total record. So 2-6 was the non-conference record. Now again, that's against Division I opponents. I'm sure there may have had a few non-conference, a few games against some lower seeded teams. But when you look at their non-conference, they beat a Nichols program 75-59. They lost to University of Miami by 5. They lost to Ole Miss by 13. They lost to the University of Texas by 14. Closest loss, they lost to Arkansas, who had a net 30 and an RPI 48 by 4 points. That could have been the impressive win that might have got them off of the 14 seed line. They lost to Troy, who I think Troy is one of those teams that's a conference champ that's going to the tournament. They lost to Troy by 17. They lost to Mississippi State by 8 points. So they played.
So all their non-conference games were competitive, from what it sounds like.
Yeah. For the most part, I mean, the Troy game got away from them. I don't know. Troy and Texas were probably the two wallops. Ole Miss, those were the double-digit games, but it wasn't like a 20-point beating or anything like that. I mean, everything was under 15 or less. Okay. And then live reaction here. Norfolk State is in the East region against Baylor. So they avoid the first 4, and Norfolk State gets a straight shot as a 16 seed. We'll talk about that in a moment. You guys out there watching us, let us know your thoughts. Are you happy? Are you disappointed with the seeding for Norfolk State and Texas Southern? We'll get into that in a moment. Here's some stuff I discovered, I unearthed regarding Jackson State. Now the NCAA is using this rating system called NET, in which how familiar are you with the terminology of what NET is, Drew?
Not as familiar with it as RPI. I know it's a new thing that they've brought on the last couple of years. I remember Dr. McClellan speaking of it, and speaking of the debt and how he's encouraging SWAC basketball programs to start putting their schedule together based upon other opponents' net, so that if you're, I think, and I'm going off of memory here, if you're a team that's a top 200 team, you want to play teams that are above 200, and if you're a team below 200, you want to somehow stay in that range. I know 200 was a magic cutoff for him when it comes to that debt on how many teams you want to play above and below that 200 line to get the conference rating up as a whole.
Yeah. Well, so they have these quadrants, of course, these which essentially, if you want to call quadrants or tiers, where they broke everything up into 4 quadrants. And if you look at those some 350 some odd schools, you do the math, 350 divided by 4, you're probably talking 75 schools or 80 something schools per quadrant, right? So Jackson State's women are 23-0 in quadrant 4 net game. Now this is net, right? Their rating in the net rankings is 87.
356 Division 1 teams. I'm sorry, 356.
Right. So Jackson State is 87 in terms of net rating. The wins in the quadrant 4, which I'm assuming are the last 80-something schools. You do the math. That's all 23-0. That's all SWAC schools, plus Nichols University, who this year had a 2-22 overall record. Their net is 345, and they defeated South Carolina State, who's 4-25 this year. Their net is 354. So all of Jackson State's wins came in quadrant 4. They're 0-5 in quadrant 1 games and 0-1 in quadrant 3. So it's impressive, I think, to me, that Jackson State is 87, given the following, that the conference, Drew, is the second lowest rated net conference in women's basketball. Of 32 conferences, the SWAC is 31, the MEAC is 30. And so I think what we'll see as when you hear all the analysis of why people are where they are, they'll look at the net ratings. Jackson State has a net rating of 87. That a lot of people are predicting a 14 seed, which is a major step up. It'd be the highest seeded that any SWAC, I think any HBCU may have been, in my knowledge. Mostly I've heard 15 seeds in the past. I don't know if we've ever had a 14 seed on the HBCU level. But I counted the conference champions and their net rating, and there are 11 schools that have a lower net rating than Jackson State. And so you got to imagine, Drew, that those are all conference champions with automatic bids, right? So if you do the math, there's 4 16 seeds, 4 15 seeds. That's 8 schools. That puts them where? At the 14 seed mark.
They would be the last 14 because, Brian, you also have to remember the women's tournament has gone to the 68-team field, which means that you will have 2 16s playing each other in playing games. So you have 4. So that'll be 4 16 teams playing in the first 4, the women's version of the first 4. So that'll be 4. You have another 2 on that line, which would be 6. So you have 6 16 seeds total.
Yep.
Right.
Good point.
Then you have they would still be on the 14 line, but they would be the last of the 14. Right. Yeah. You said they're number 11, or they're 11 below.
There are 11 schools with a lower net rating than Jackson State.
So they're the number 3 of the 14 seeds, just based on that.
Yeah. So I mean that's that. You look. So a 14 seed will play a 3 seed. So we'll find out tonight. I think the women's bracket comes out at 8:00 Eastern, 7 Central, and so we'll find out whether Jackson State plays as a 14 seed. And, I heard a lot of people talking about wanting them as a 12 seed and so on and so forth. And I'm like, yeah, if they would have beaten a couple of those teams, that they were hanging in there close with, if they had beaten an Ole Miss or they had beaten a Mississippi State who have quad 1 top 60, top 70 net ratings, yeah, they might have got as high as a 12 seed, but not going to happen, at least based on the metrics that we've seen. But Drew, I got to tell you, depending upon the matchup, a first round victory is conceivable as a 14 seed, right? You got to admit that's very conceivable for this.
It's a hell of a lot easier than playing South Carolina.
Yes, indeed. You got an update for us on the Division II game between West Virginia State, right?
Yeah, 143 to go. West Virginia State is down 3. Cal, you at the free throw line. 65-62 is your score.
Let's go over to the men. Texas Southern with an 87-62 win over Alcorn State. P.J. Henry was the most valuable player. All tournament team consists of Henry, John Walker III of Texas Southern, Bryson Gresham of Texas Southern, Justin Thomas of Alcorn, and Jalen Johnson of Alabama A&M. It's the 10th overall SWAC tournament title for Texas Southern since 2013. That's the last 8 SWAC tournaments. Texas Southern has won 6 of them. 4 of them with Mike Davis, and the last 2 with Johnny Jones. Drew, is this officially a dynasty?
As best as you could get to a SWAC dynasty, yes, it is. And not to be cutting you off, I will see if our producer Roy could put up the West Virginia State Cal U game with the because we're down about a minute to go. West Virginia State is trailing. We may want to do a live cut-in, Brian, because this game is getting is exciting.
All right.
Matter of fact, check if you check the link that I sent you in Messenger, Mr. Producer.
Let me while we're waiting to see if we can get that live, I did want to add that Texas Southern, you know what's interesting about this team, and I think it's going to be challenging for, well, first off, I'm going to predict that they'll win their first 4 contests against, this is the Texas Southern team that defeated the University of Florida on the road. Most non-conference teams don't win on the road at Florida. Okay, so for Texas Southern, they've got a big front, and they showed that. This was a close ball game against Alcorn until maybe about the 14-minute mark of the second half, and then they just they imposed their size and will and just determination on Alcorn, and it was pretty impressive to see them turn on the switch the way they did. So Texas Southern will be in the first 4 game on Tuesday. So they'll be playing Tuesday night against Texas A&M not Corpus Christi. Well, yeah, isn't it? Corpus Christi, Texas A&M CC. So we'll get a little bit more. I'll take a look at them. Let's take a break for a minute. Let's see if we can get that live video, and maybe we can watch the last few minutes of West Virginia State trailing by 2 against Cal U in the Division II tournament. We'll be back right after these words.
Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music. The Creole Seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole Seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Brian and AD here. We have a live look-in on our watch party here of West Virginia State trailing 67-65 against Cal U. West Virginia State looks like they have the ball here, 11 seconds to play. Let's see what they dial up. Are you playing for a tie situation? Best basket. Here we go.
Yeah. And I guess they had a foul to give. It looks like.
Okay, so there's the foul to give with about 4.5, maybe 4.5 to 5 seconds left. Always a fan of the foul when you have extra time.
See if I
So
could
now at
see
this
if I
point,
could go check the play-by-play. Jones.
ah,
Jones.
right, gotta
Oh,
watch
off
it.
the
Don't
rim. No good. Cal, you survived.
I thought you were watching. No, that was a bad possession. Bad possession. You got to go to the basket. I don't understand why guys stop to shoot the outside shot. Go to the basket where you have an opportunity to get fouled. Well, tough. I mean, good game, good effort by West Virginia State. That's me being a sideline coach. So congratulations. West Virginia State, after the overtime win over West Liberty, loses to the 3 seed Cal U,
I would expect to see
67-65.
some kind of screen roll on that or something. If you're going to do that,
Well, I thought he had
a screen roll.
It looked like he could have turned the corner. Yeah, it looked like he could have turned the corner and got to the lane. And probably had he turned the corner, Drew, I thought he could have got bumped or fouled even. When you turn, if you turn the corner hard, that defender, he's likely to bump you or at least hip check you a little bit, right?
Right. Or even better, if you turn that corner, the chances that somebody's going to come over on the help is even greater, which means you got to dump off inside or a kick out for an open jumper instead of a contested jump shot.
Right. My message in that huddle prior to that play is they're going to foul us, and then when we get the ball back with 4.5 seconds, guys, we have to get to the paint. We cannot settle for an outside jump shot. Whatever you do not settle for an outside jump shot. Go to the basket.
Well, in a situation where you know a team has a foul to give, the one way that you can avoid having that time wasted is either A, you've got to attack early so that they have to foul you early, which is going to give you a bunch of time, or B, Brian, just move the ball. It's kind of hard to foul you when you don't have the ball. So if you got some ball movement, but people are afraid to move the ball like that because they don't want to throw a bad pass. But you can't play scared at that point. So attack early. If you're going to get that foul, let's get that foul with about 8 seconds to go instead of down to 5. So that's just my sideline coaching, Brian. We've both been in these situations as coach, but obviously West Virginia State has had a remarkable season, but it has just come to the end, and we have only one small school left, one non-Division I school left, and that is Talladega at this point, men or women.
Yeah, exactly. Men or women. Talladega getting 2 wins. It's good to host. It's good to host a tournament, or be a host in the NAIA tournament, which is what the Talladega men had the opportunity to do. They were the 2 seed in their quadrant. They won 79-70 against the 15 seed Washington Adventists. Then they won in a blowout fashion, 69-49 against the 7 seed Cumberland of Tennessee. So now Talladega advances to the round of 16 in Kansas City. Very similar spot that Stillman was in just a year ago.
Correct.
So congratulations to Coach Chris Wright and the Talladega Tornadoes. And while we're talking NAIA, I guess we ought to mention that 4 other schools won on the opening round day. You had Stillman men getting a win, Xavier getting a win over the host school, Southeastern, by 1 point. Rust College on the women's side won their opening round contest. And then the Talladega women won their opening round contest. Florida Memorial and Tougaloo's men both lost their opening round game, and Xavier women lost to number 1 overall seed Southeastern. Going into round 2, I was sitting here trying to scoreboard or try to make sure we gave people the scores. Florida Memorial was a 13 seed taking on Faulkner. They lost 77-66. As I go through, Xavier defeated Southeastern 57-56, as I said. Then they lost to the number 1 seed Arizona Christian 75-63. Lost that game 75-63. Continuing on with the men. Let's see. I already mentioned the Talladega Scores. I was trying to find Tougaloo here. Tougaloo. Somewhere down here. Here we go. I found Stillman. Stillman won their opening game 67-65 against 10 seed Union of Kentucky. So that's a 2-point win for Stillman in the opening round game. But then they lost 80-67 to Thomas More of Kentucky. And Tougaloo, they lost to Arizona Christian 76-61. They were in that same quad with Xavier. So Arizona Christian beat Tougaloo first, and then they knocked out Xavier. Go ahead, Drew.
No, I was going to say that Stillman score was a little bit deceiving as that game was close down the stretch until they got to the point where Stillman had to start fouling and trying to trade 3 for 2 and was unable to cut it to the lead. So,
yeah. Over on the women's side, we mentioned Rust with the 70. Rust had a pair of close games. I mean, first off, Rust defeated Cumberlands of Kentucky 76-74. And then Southeastern, that 1 seed, defeated Xavier women 77-45. That set up a matchup between number 1 seed and number 1 overall Southeastern playing Rust. And I believe, it was Xavier who played Southeastern last year, so Xavier was familiar. But this year, Rust and Southeastern. Now, talk about what's interesting is this a contrast in Southeastern is one of the top scoring teams in division in NAIA. Rust is one of the top defensive teams in NAIA. And this was a close ball game back and forth. Rust actually, let's see, Southeastern had a 3-point lead at the end of the first quarter. Rust had the halftime lead by 1. The third quarter is what tripped them up a little bit. Southeastern outscored Rust 15-10 in the third quarter. Fourth quarter was even in terms of scoring. And so, but like I said, props to Coach Jackson and the Lady Bearcats for pushing the number 1 team to the brink of an elimination. And that might be one of the toughest contests that they have all tournament. And so they lost that game by 4. Talladega, if I can find them quickly. Let's see. Talladega Women. Let's see. Any ideas what region they were in, Drew? Talladega Women.
They went. I want to say they went something in Louisiana. I forgot where at.
Alexandria, Louisiana. Yes.
Yes.
They defeated Providence, Montana, in Montana, 73-70. That's their opening round win, and then they just ran up against a bit of a buzzsaw. Central Methodist of Missouri, 118-62. That's a tough beat right there. They jumped on them in the opening first quarter, 35-13. And that pretty much got the ball rolling from that point. You kind of look at the box score and just kind of see, hey, where did things go right? Where did things go wrong?
Brian, I'm
they
looking
went to
looking at CBS, and they have Norfolk as team number 64 in the
As
in
an
the bracket.
88% free throw shooter, you
They
probably
were
like
the
to see her on
64th
the floor,
team.
maybe for one of those two.
They're breaking down who was actually Baylor was the number 4 overall team, and Norfolk was the number 64 team.
Okay. Let me, as you watch some of the highlights here from Rust, as they cut it to within 2 off of a missed free throw there on that highlight, 64 to 62.
Excuse me. Texas Southern was number 67 against Kansas, who was number 3. Texas A&M Corpus Christi was number 68. So they were the last 2 teams ranked in. Texas Southern and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it just pops on the screen. I had to get it off before I forgot it.
No, you're right. I mean, what's running right now, anybody who's watching, is just the highlights of the Rust Southeastern. So I mean, we can move off of those. Those are just some of the highlights. Let's go back to that discussion that you just brought up. As we come back over to Division I talk, because that's interesting that you bring that up. Now, I'm gonna tell you what that's a product of. Is I just pulled up the numbers here on Texas A&M Corpus Christi, winners of the Southland Championship, finished the regular season 19-11. They were 7-7 in conference play. They defeated Southeastern Louisiana by a score of 73-65 in the conference championship game. And I was trying to see. Now, you said that they came in at what was those numbers again that you said they came in?
Number 67 and 68. Texas Southern was 67. And UT
so I wonder if that is a product of
67 to 68. Yes.
See, I feel like that's a product of these net rankings. And I was in all of a sudden the site that I'm using to pull up the net rankings just went nuts on me.
But why you do that, Brian? Why you pull that back up? These 2 teams did have one common opponent, and that was Texas Rio Grande Valley, with Texas Southern defeating Rio Grande Valley on December 14th by a score of 70-60, and that was on the road. That was at Rio Grande Valley, and Corpus Christi splitting their correction. Corpus Christi beating Rio Grande Valley twice, one at home, one away. They won on the road 83-77 on December 1st, and in the return match on December 8th in Corpus Christi won 75-69. So there is one common opponent between these 2 teams.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. I don't know how that really. It'd be interesting to see how when you compare and contrast that. But let's go to the net rating. I'm going to give you the net conference ratings, Drew. This is why you said Texas Southern was 67th out of 68, right? 68 teams
Correct.
in the tournament. Texas Southern, and who was 68?
Corpus Christi.
Okay,
so
that is why
they're the last 2 number 6 teams.
Conference net rating: SWAC 32, Southland 31. That's why.
Okay.
And now, guess you said
now what were those 2 teams individual net rating? Do you have that? or is it just conference
I do
only?
have that. I'll get to that in a second.
Okay. All right.
Norfolk State, you said was what, 64?
64. Yes.
Okay, 64 of 68. The MEAC, 30th. Okay, so that you factor that and you understand why winning not the non-conference. We continue. We understand why we play these deadbeat, get your tail kicked in because you got to go out and get a check to meet the budget of everybody else. But God bless it, man. We will never get out of playing 15, 16 seeded in the March Madness tournament until one of two things happen. A, we play fewer of those check games and find some mid-major common opponents. And then B, we beat those mid-major conferences. Because there's a few on everybody's schedule. The problem is, are you beating them? Are you beating them? So I that's just one of those things, Drew.
Let me go a little bit further and have some other numbers, Brian. One of the statistical tools that we use here at the Black College Sports Network is the MEAC ratings, MEACratings.com. Based on overall ranking, Texas Southern in MEACratings.com was rated number 204. Texas A&M Corpus Christi was rated number 251. Strength of schedule for these two teams. Texas Southern strength of schedule was 249, and according to MEAC rating, Texas A&M Corpus Christi was number 353. So MEAC has Texas A&M, Texas Southern, a significantly better team according to their rankings.
Net rating for Corpus Christi, Texas A&M Corpus Christi is 241. The net rating for Texas Southern is 197. The net rating for Norfolk State is 156. I question whether Norfolk State should have been a 16 seed personally.
Their non-conference, despite how it looked on paper, their non-conference strength of schedule was not good. And then when you add in the MEAC conference rating, it was I understand why Norfolk is on the 16 line.
Right. Hey, real quick, Drew, we are having
one thing. Oh, I was gonna say 3 of those wins that everybody see were against non-Division I opponents.
We are having a bracket contest here in the Black College Sports Network on the NCAA.com March Madness Live. We have a league in the men's bracket challenge. If you find the group My BCSN 2022, that's My BCSN 2022, and we just sent. I posted on Facebook, sent a tweet out, posted it on Instagram, and I said, in order to get the passcode to join our group, you had to watch our shows to get the password. Well, very simply put, we have 2 primary Division I HBCU conferences. So the password is MEAC-SWAC, all caps. MEAC-SWAC is the password. So go to NCAA.com/March-Madness-Live/BCG, or just go to NCAA.com and look for the bracket challenge, the men's bracket challenge. Join our group, My BCSN 2022. Enter the password MEAC-SWAC. That's all caps, and join our group. All of our shows, from Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, the pregame show, Carlos Brown, the O&G Strike Zone, BJ Jones, everybody's going to be a part of this. And then you can come in and compete against us. No confirmation on any prizes just yet. Who knows? Maybe you get a chance to come on and be a guest host or a guest host with somebody. I'm not offering up any professorship roles. I don't mess with Dr. Cavill's class, but maybe on this show we might give you a chance to come on and be a guest host, or we'll figure something out. But go to again, Men's Bracket Challenge and join our contest. MEAC-SWAC is the password to join our group. I'll repeat that. We'll go through that one more time later on in the show, and you'll hear that read again on Tuesday on Dr. Cavill's show, and on Wednesday night, the ONG Strike Zone show as well. Drew, let's take a break, come back, and let's break down the events of the MEAC tournament, and maybe just kind of recap or put a bow on the Division II bracket and who did what on those results there from the weekend. We're back in just a moment. You're watching the Sports Wrap with AD and
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate prize. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulder Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulder Scalp Shield, never not working.
Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music. The Creole Seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole Seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Brian and AD here. It is good evening to everyone out there watching us on YouTube. Shout out to everybody. Make sure you hit that like button. You guys who are watching us on YouTube, make sure you're already subscribed to our Jericho Broadcast Network's YouTube page. Go download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. You can find it on your Google and Apple Play Store. My JBN, my BCSN is where you can find us. So we've got just looking at some Alex Hines says once again the HBCU conference champ gets screwed. Well, I'll tell you this, Alex, they really don't get screwed. They got what they got based on conference. Look, the standard of how the NCAA operates in this tournament is quite clear. And it's again, if I go back to the net conference rating, they're using this thing called net, which is similar. I don't know how similar to an RPI, but it's what they use to measure conferences. The two lowest conferences in net are the SWAC and MEAC. So if 68 teams, they said Norfolk State is the 64th team, which somehow barely gets them out of playing in the first four by one spot, because 65, 66, 67, and 68, the four lowest net teams play in the first four, which Texas Southern is 67 of 68. So, that unfortunately, we have to do we have to continue to fight for a better job of scheduling. I mean, Norfolk State had a great season, 23-6. Did a great job non-conference. Let me see if I can pull up Norfolk State's non-conference opponents here. 21-6 was the record against their net rating was 156. They were 0-1. Now, by contrast, let's see. We'll do a comparison here of Texas Southern and Norfolk State, right? Norfolk State's net rating in quadrant 1 is 0-1. Quadrant 2 is 0-1. Quadrant 3, they are 2-1. Quadrant 4, 19-3. Again, the entire conference is in that. Norfolk State defeated a 12-18 Tennessee State team, a 4-27 William and Mary, an 11-18 Bowling Green team, a 7-19 Hampton, a 10-20 Grambling State. Best win of the year is probably 21-9 UNC Wilmington, that finished with a net rating of 175 and RPI 104. They beat them by 5. They were probably hurt by not getting a chance to play Loyola Chicago. That game got canceled back on December 19th. Their losses were to New Mexico, on 11-19 New Mexico. They lost to Wichita State, 15-13. They lost to a 7-19 Hampton team. Just probably a week after they beat them in that Chris Paul HBCU Challenge Classic. They had 3 non-Division One opponents as well on their schedule. So look, I applaud Norfolk State for doing what they could from a non-conference perspective, but they're done in by their conference. I mean, really, that and until I don't know how it'll ever change, man. To be honest, Drew, I mean, I think I I don't know. Your thoughts? How will it ever change, Drew? I mean, I've shared my thoughts on how it could change. How will it ever change?
We've got to beat some of these teams that we are. Number one, we've got to stop playing the big boys. We need to play more mid majors, and when we play those mid majors, we need to win. It's just that simple, Brian. I can't put it any simpler than that. We have got to win against those at least the mid majors. We're not. I don't expect us to win the uh, against a lot of the Power Fives. Although we know that it is possible. You saw what Texas Southern did against Florida, and you wouldn't think, honestly, that win would have counted for a little bit more than it did to get you off from 68 to 67. But
Which
Brian,
one?
while we're comparing the Texas Southern versus Florida,
Okay.
but
I
all right, but
but let's hold on. Don't leave that. Don't leave that point. Here's the
okay,
problem though. Texas Southern has traditionally look, and Dr. Gaville has even told us this. Their AD gives gives the basketball program a mandate. I don't know what he has to go out and raise a certain amount of money to invest
right,
into that program, put into that program, right? So Texas Southern, they're 1-2 in quad one wins. I mean quad one games. That's the Florida game. 0-3 in quad two. 0-2 in quad three. Their schedule. Listen to their schedule, Drew. Oregon, 18-14. Oregon going into the tournament. Number 17, St. Mary's College, 24-7. They lost at Washington. I don't know if Washington is in the tournament or not. 17-15, probably NIT, if not. They lost to an 11-18 Air Force team on the road. They lost to an 11-21 North Carolina State on the road. Lost to a 20-10 BYU that I think is in the tournament. Lost to a 21-10 Louisiana Tech. So they lost their first 7 games before beating Florida and then turning around and beating UTRGV. That's a 6-23 team. And they had a
Rio
game
Grande
against
Valley.
TCU. Okay, thank you. And they lost, or actually had a game against TCU scheduled, a 20-12 TCU that's going to the tournament that got canceled.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
Can you help
and
me
I
out with
don't.
one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to compare the final number 16 team, Georgia State.
Georgia State. All right, sure.
Yes, they
Let's go
they,
take
they
a look
faced
at.
number one. I believe Gonzaga is the number one overall number one seed, and they're facing Georgia State.
Okay, Georgia State's net rating is 159 with an overall record of 15-10. Georgia State was 9-5 in the Sun Belt Conference. Um, they are 0-1 in quad one games, 0-2 in quad two. Here's a difference factor. They had 13 quad three games. 13. They were 7-6 in those. In quad four, they were 8-2. So remember what I said. In quad three is where the biggest difference is. If you go back and look, Norfolk State, Texas Southern, they may have played 2 to 3 opponents that were in quad three. Didn't win any of them. or maybe they won. I don't know. They may have won one. But quad 3 is what killed them because Georgia State was 7-16. And you know what's crazy, Drew? When you go look at Georgia State's schedule, again, they played one quad 1 team, one quad 2 team. So
they wound up in the same spot as we did, and we being our HBCUs as a 16.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't know. Let me see. In the Sun Belt, if I take a look at their standings, they weren't the favorite to win. Georgia State actually they finished tied for 3rd in the Sun Belt, behind Texas State, Appalachian State, Troy, and I believe in the tournament. They knocked off Appalachian State, and then they beat a Louisiana team they were below 500, so I think Louisiana had knocked off somebody as well. So the top teams didn't even impact, and I don't know, Drew. So I don't know how you're going to compare. Let's go to net. Let's take one final look at the net conference ratings for the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt actually comes in. Wow, look at this. The Sun Belt comes in 16. 16, right, middle of the pack.
Right.
Why? I don't know. It's frustrating.
Can I throw some names out at you?
Yeah, let me add this one final point, Cut, because you want to know why where who do we say the Colonial? We had schools moving to the Colonial. You know where the Colonial is right now in terms of conference net ratings? 14.
29. Oh, okay.
14. 1-4. They left the Big South, which was 24. So, yeah, go ahead. What were you going to add? Go ahead.
I was going to give you the list of the 15s, and then you could, if you just want to take a quick glance at them. Got Cal State, 15 seeds. Just to see the difference between the 16s and the 15s. In the West, you've got Cal State Fullerton.
Okay.
In the East, you've got St. Peter's. In the Midwest, you've got Jacksonville State.
Who didn't even win their tournament.
Yeah. And in the South, you have Delaware.
The Jacksonville State one is curious to me. What conference is that where Jacksonville State is?
Is that Peach Belt? No, Peach Belt is the Sun Belt, maybe.
No, I just gave you the Sun Belt. They weren't in the Sun Belt.
Okay.
But anyway, is it the Southland maybe? We're guessing. Anybody out there know which conference Jacksonville State? It's that school where the school that just won. It's the A. It starts with the A. It's the Atlantic Sun.
Atlantic.
Okay, Here's how Jacksonville State. They had a 13-3 conference record. They have their conference broken up into an East and West division. Jacksonville State finished 13-3 over number 1 in the West, 19-10 record, but they lost to Jacksonville, who in the conference tournament, that's who they lost to.
And for those who do not know, Jacksonville State is in Alabama. Jacksonville is in Florida.
Yeah, Jacksonville State has a 142 net rating. Again, what I say Norfolk State's was 156. 156. And they lost to Jacksonville in the semifinals of the tournament by 3. So that's how close it was. I felt like that was a team that I think, if you have these tournaments, and Jacksonville State didn't make it to their conference tournament. Jacksonville State is a team I look at and say that should have been a 16 seed. Norfolk State should have been a 15 seed where Jacksonville State is. Instead, you send Norfolk State to go play the top-rated team from the best net-rated conference, Baylor, the defending national champions. Which I will say this: the one interesting fact, this is the third year that this is the third tournament appearance by Norfolk State. Each of their previous 2 appearances, they have had a win in the tournament. So keep that in mind. Norfolk State with wins in their previous 2 trips. I don't know if I'm going to say Baylor should be on upset alert, but I'm thinking, I don't know. I'll be interested to see what the spread is because I know I know it's already out, Drew, but I got a feeling I'll be looking to play Norfolk State, especially if it's in the 20s. If that line comes out and says Baylor in the 20s, I'll be looking to put something on, a little something on Norfolk State. Let's quickly recap the MEAC tournament, Drew, because you had on the men's side, we already mentioned Norfolk State held off the upset-minded Coppin State Eagles 72-57. Coppin State knocked off the 2 seed Howard. They knocked off the 3 seed North Carolina Central, and they came for the 1 seed, but they just didn't have enough as Norfolk, behind Joe Bryant Jr., the MVP of the tournament, MVP of the league, player of the year, as well as the most outstanding player, had a big game. On the all-tournament team for Norfolk State, you had Jalen Hawkins and Bryant, of course. Ninda Tark for Coppin. Jesse Z. I'm not even going to try to guess that name. And then Malik Miller from Morgan also made the all-tournament team. Drew, the MEAC women, Howard with a 61-44 win. As mentioned, Howard led by sophomore Destiny Howell, 25 points, a career high night for her. First title since 2001 for Howard. Their 11th overall MEAC championship. And of course, as mentioned, Howard was a free throw away from winning the title last year. Heartbreaking loss to North Carolina A&T and a great game. So Howard gets it done, and we'll see where they send Howard. I don't know. Are they doing the first 4 thing on the women's side yet, Drew?
No. Well, yes, there will be a first 4. I don't know where that is going to be held at this year. I don't know if it's going to be in a neutral site like they do in Dayton, Ohio for the Ben, but there will be a first 4. And the women's brackets come out at 8 o'clock Eastern tonight. So you can start watching that at 8 o'clock Eastern tonight.
Right. And, I know people are. So, look, this is interesting. Here's an interesting thought because I see people commenting that Norfolk State doesn't have an opportunity to earn credits by getting a tournament win. Would you rather the HBCUs be in the first 4 versus actually getting a 16 seed outright? That's an interesting.
Want me to be honest with you?
Please be honest. I'm gonna let you talk. I gotta grab something real quick. Go ahead. Keep going. I can hear you.
If you ask me, I'd rather be in the first 4 if I can't get to the 15 line. Because in the first 4, at least you have an opportunity to get a check, like Norfolk and Texas Southern did on last year, where they were able to get a win. They get paid as if they won that first round game. So, I'd much rather go ahead and get that little extra revenue, not only for my school but for my conference. because realistically, if you're playing a 16, how many times has a 16 lost? Once since 1985 when they expanded the tournament, and that was what, 2 years ago when Virginia Tech lost, 3 years ago, whenever that was. So yeah, I'd much rather play that first 4 game if I'm going to be on that 16 line. At least I can taste a victory in the tournament.
That's answer. That's and I get it. I get it. If you're not going to give us, let me see, in the 1 seed, just so everybody know, Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas, and Baylor. So Baylor is the last of the 1 seeds, and so that's who Norfolk State will play. Texas Southern and Texas Corpus Christi, the winner of that takes Kansas. So yeah, if you're not going to give us a 2 seed, then yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm looking at this all wrong. You guys out there pointed that out. I saw. I don't know who I just saw point that out on Twitter.
Lawrence Q. What year was that when Virginia got beat? Lawrence Q just reminded us UMBC beat Virginia as a 16 seed. I just can't remember what year that was. I know it was recent.
That was 2018, I believe. 2017 or 2018.
Yes.
Yeah. So look, it happens. It happened once. It has happened one time out of
since 1985 when they expanded it to 64 teams.
Now, the 2 seed though has had more upset wins than the 1 seed. The 2 has beaten the 15. I want to say at least half a dozen times.
Yeah.
The 2 is beating the 15.
15 is beating the 2.
I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry. Thank you. The 15 is beating the 2. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, of course the 2 is beating the 15, Brian. Yeah.
And we've seen more than our fair share of 14 threes and down the line, and the 5-12 is the most popular upsets line.
Right.
Yes, 2018. Lawrence says 2018 also.
Yeah, so don't give me the 16 and then honestly tell me that I'm not going to say that Baylor is going to stumble. It's basketball. Yes. Anything's possible. Sure, they can stumble. But I like the odds. I'm an odds person. Give me the better odds. The better odds are as the 15 seed. Or if we want to talk finances, and look, this is one of those things, just like we talk about in football. HBCU community, maybe we got to change our thinking here, right? Let's change our thinking. And this is something I know Doc will talk about on Tuesday, because I can hear Doc in the background talking about, you got to think about the money. You got to think about this is a business, Brian. I know he's back there telling me he doesn't train me well.
Which is why I say I'd rather play in the first 4 than the 16.
I get you, but yeah. I'm for those of you who are competitors, you want to be in a competitive situation, because we're not thinking about the financial business side of it, but this is what we have to do. We have to think about the financial business side of it for our schools. And so, yeah, you're right. You guys who brought this up, yeah, Norfolk State did get screwed. Here's something that I heard. I heard one of the announcers say that Norfolk State, this was during the game, anybody who was watching the broadcast said that somebody said Norfolk State this is a tweet I saw, that Norfolk State didn't get the tournament experience last year. And I was like, BS. That tournament last year was so special and unique. The fact that you had a chance to, you were in a bubble, but everybody was in the state of Indiana. They got to play in a historic gym arena. And, that there was probably more positives that happened with last year's tournament than this year, or than the traditional form. It was unique. So to say that they didn't get the real experience, they just got a unique experience. I'll be interested.
It's almost like the NAIA in Kansas City, where everybody used to come to Kansas City. It was a similar type experience. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Brian. I actually kind of like that idea of everything, all 68 teams being in one centralized location. You know, a lot of regions can't pull that off like Indianapolis could, but there are plenty of
Or
regions
Kansas
that you
City.
could do that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to
But,
think there's
I don't think Kansas City couldn't pull off because they don't have Kansas City doesn't have the dome big enough for the championship, because they want all the championship games in a dome. St. Louis possibly could. A St. Louis region could, down in your area where Orlando doesn't have a dome.
no.
But you could split it between Orlando and possibly, if you want to go to the Tropicana and do it in Tampa. But you could split it
They've
down in
had the
that
women.
right. You could do it in that Southern Florida region. San Antonio could possibly do it. There aren't a lot of places where you could do that. You could do it in LA. So
Right.
I think that was a good unique opportunity, having everything in one place. And for all those who are wanting our schools to transition up from D2 to D1, you see what happened to what was that, Bellarmine? You see, that's what happens when you transition up. You can't compete
Oh yeah.
in the tournament. So now the conference had two choices with them: either let them compete in the regular season and don't allow them to play in the tournament, which is why most conferences make that decision, or they compete in the tournament, let them win the tournament, and then you have to decide who to send, because the conference does have the right to send who it wants to the tournament, be it the regular season champion or the postseason champion. Or in this case, they could have actually sent the team that was the tournament runner-up to the NCAA tournament. That's all by the choice of the conference. So, but this is the exact reason why they usually don't allow teams that cannot compete in the national tournament play in the conference tournament.
Right. All right. Let's move over. We got to mention, because I've seen a couple people mention it. We got to give a second and give a shout out to Paul Quinn College, who last week won the USCAA basketball national championship, Division I men's small college national championship. Paul Quinn had to play. It's an 8-team field. They defeated Bluefield State College in the opening contest. Defeated a BSC Albany in the second, and then a BSC Buffalo. I'm not quite sure what the acronym BSC is, but I got a feeling it's probably in the New York area or something. Or maybe it's the I don't even want to guess, but they had to win 3 games to win that national championship. And so Paul Quinn, with an 80-69 win, Bryant and Stratton, excuse me, there it is, Bryant and Stratton, Buffalo, to claim their Division I championship. And we have been, of course, now next year, Paul Quinn should be eligible in the Red River, correct?
Correct.
Right. And if you followed along with us, we've been spotlighting Paul Quinn in our top 5 for a while now. They have had a very good record among other NAIA schools, and actually, Drew, very well, if they were eligible in the NAIA this year or for the Red River, they might have contended and been in the NAIA tournament, you think?
Yeah, I would think they would have gotten at least one in, I believe. I do believe. And speaking of Paul Quinn, did you notice we actually clicked on a bracket who their first round opponent was, Brian?
Bluefield State, yes. Bluefield State.
Yes. Another one of our forgotten HBCUs.
Right.
Who's who's looking to get into the CIAA,
Sure,
which is going to
sure,
bring
yeah.
some math challenges for the CIAA with 13 teams. But we'll see how that happens.
Right.
Maybe the CIAA could be the test subject for the SWAC if Tennessee State comes in, how to do it with 13.
Yeah. Yeah, I just saw something there. Lawrence says Jacksonville State shouldn't be playing in Dayton. I disagree. They most certainly should be playing in Dayton because they didn't win their conference tournament. So they got in. They got in on a technicality. I think Jacksonville State should be. Oh, he said they should have been playing in Dayton. Okay, yeah, I got you. Sorry about that. Shoulda, shouldn't. Sorry, that the apostrophe. Lawrence is like, yeah, they should. I agree with you, Lawrence. Now I agree with you. Hey, let me again. Let's do a recap real quick. The NCAA Division II tournament started this weekend. We already spotlighted West Virginia State was the only school to get a win in the opening round of the tournament with a 103-94 overtime victory over 2-seed West Liberty. They lost today to Cal U by 2 points. So they end their season. Also, on the men's side, you had 5-seed Miles losing 65-50 to 4-seed Union of Tennessee. 8-seed Savannah State, SIC champs. They lost 113-62 to 1-seed Nova Southeastern, who was, I think, one of the overall top seeds overall in the tournament. And then you had CIAA champ Fayetteville State. They were an 8-seed. They lost 65-49 against Indiana PA. And I watched that. I watched some of that game, and that looked like a winnable game for Fayetteville State. I think they just they were playing on Indiana PA's court. So talk about a home court advantage. They were playing on the road, a real road game, not a neutral site. And so, yeah, over on the women's side, we had 3 schools in the D2 tournament. 6-seed Benedict College lost 87-77 to Lee, 3-seed Lee. 8-seed and CIAA champion Lincoln, PA, lost 88-60 to Glenville State. And at-large bid from the SIAC, Savannah State, they were an 8-seed, lost 87-56 to Union, Tennessee. And I would not have surmised that Savannah State. I wonder how much losing the conference tournament played into that. I can't see Savannah State lose. I don't know how they lost by 31, but that doesn't even seem. If you watch Savannah State all year, that doesn't even seem real. So, I mean,
I think they
congratulations.
probably had a big letdown after the tournament.
It's probably hard to get back. That's probably the hardest coaching job Coach Baker has had to do, is to tell those kids that, hey, your season's not over, as dejected as they were after the way they lost that game to Benedict in the conference tournament. All right, let's go to a break, come back, and do we have any top 5s to do, Drew?
Yes, we put out our last regular season top 5 for Division I, men and women. Obviously, the Division II and the NAIA are frozen until after their postseason tournaments.
All right, so let's go do that. Maybe we'll come back and try to predict, see if we can pull up some info and try to predict where Jackson State and Howard might be playing on the women's side. We'll see if we can share some information on that and then do that top 5 as well. Go ahead.
And there's a couple other teams who might be still doing some dancing, just not in the grand ballroom.
Thank you. Yes, there's still some teams with some postseason life in their blood. So we'll talk about that on the other side. You're watching the BCSN Sports Wrap. We'll be back right after these words.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. This is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together we can be the change.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for black baseball's ultimate pride. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Brian and AD here. We have a March Madness bracket challenge that we are doing here, part of BCSN family. Go to ncaa.com/March-Madness-Live. It's right there. Just go to ncaa.com. You'll see March Madness Live. Join our group. Our group name is My BCSN 2022. Join our group. Lawrence is in. Lawrence, congratulations for being one of the first listeners in. Join our group. Everybody from the BCSN, all of our show hosts and contributors will be a part of this contest. We want you guys who listen and watch our shows to be a part of this. And it's all, I feel like, Drew, we should make it mandatory. Everybody has to pick Texas Southern and Norfolk State to win a game, right? It's almost like, it's like playing with your left hand tied behind your back a little bit, but we got to keep it real. No, I mean, but you can go and you can sign up with a Google account, Facebook account, whatever, something like that, and then you'll need a password. And since we have two predominant HBCU conferences in Division I, the password is MEAC-SWAC, MEAC-SWAC. That's the password to join the contest and come on and be a part of the group. So again, go to ncaa.com, the March Madness Men's Bracket Challenge, and join our group. And the password is MEAC-SWAC, all capital letters. Drew, outside of the NCAA, the NIT is really in play for some schools, is it not?
Yes, we know we've got a guarantee of one team that will be participating in the NIT. And that one team is Alcorn State. Alcorn State will be in by virtue of being the regular season SWAC champion and not doing the double and winning the SWAC tournament. So they automatically if not selected to the NCAA, which we knew they were not going to be selected to the NCAA after losing, they get to go to the NIT. And that bracket will come out at 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPNU tonight. And those games will begin playing as early as either Tuesday or Wednesday.
So let me ask this. Now, given that Norfolk State did the double, is there anybody from the MEAC that is standing that has an opportunity? I mean, Howard was the 2 seed. Do they have an opportunity to get into the NIT? What are your thoughts? What do you think?
I am glad that you asked that, Brian. Right now, no one from the SWAC men will have an opportunity to play in the NIT because the minimum qualification that you have to be in one of these postseason tournaments is that you have to be 500 or better. No one in the MEAC finished above 500 outside of Norfolk State. So
no, hold on. I'm looking at, according to net, Howard is 13-13. So you have to finish above 500.
You're correct. 500. You're correct. I best Howard. Yeah, Howard finished 13-13. They are eligible for a postseason tournament. And I say a postseason tournament. I'll come back to that in a moment. And also, you have Southern, who's going to be postseason eligible, also with a 15-14 record. So we'll possibly have 3 additional men's teams that will be playing postseason basketball. But why did I say a postseason tournament and not just the NIT, Brian? That is because, and go back to I got a couple links open here. That is because there are multiple postseason tournaments that are beyond the NCAA and the NIT, which are the 2 that we traditionally know. You have the CBI, which is a 16-team basketball tournament who will pick after the NIT. And then there's also a 4th postseason basketball tournament, Brian. And that postseason basketball tournament is called the collegeinsider.com postseason tournament. And that is an 8-team tournament. So there are an additional 24 teams outside of the 68 in the NCAA and the 32 in the NIT. So there will be 124 teams that will be playing postseason basketball on the men's side. Flip it over to the women's side.
Hold on, let me come back for a second, real quick. Give you some net numbers here for those 3 schools. Southern, between Southern, Alcorn, and Howard, Southern University has the best net score at 215. You said their record is 15-14. Alcorn, the regular season champs, theirs is 265. 265. And Howard, who's 13-13, theirs is 240. So if you did it in order, you'd say Southern 215, Howard 240, Alcorn 265. But so Alcorn, who finished 17-16 by winning their conference, I guess they get into the NCAA or at NIT. And it'd be interesting to see if Howard or Southern or Howard gets an opportunity to join the NIT as well. Be interesting. Go ahead with the women.
The women's NIT will come out this evening. They did not release a specific time. They said at approximately 9 p.m. Eastern, and that is on womensnit.com. They do have a Facebook page by that same name, and that will come out approximately 9 p.m. Eastern with the full bracket announced by, let's see, locations, matchups, and start times for WNIT round one games, and the full bracket will be announced by 2 p.m. on tomorrow. So tonight they will announce the teams that'll be going to the women's NIT. Tomorrow they will release the bracket with round one to begin to be played the 16th through the 18th of March. Also, in addition to the women's NIT, there is a women's CBI tournament also, a women's college basketball invitational tournament, and that is an 8-team tournament. So, looking at the women who are eligible for the other postseason tournaments in Division One, you will have Morgan State, Norfolk State, Alabama A&M, and Coppin State, who are all looking to get postseason bids to one of those other tournaments.
So as I look at all of those schools here, as I punch the numbers, so the best net rating belongs to Norfolk State, 211, followed by Morgan State. Now, Morgan State has an interesting record. Their record is 16-8. They have a net rating of 248. Coppin State, with a 15-13 record, has a net rating of 257. Alabama A&M, 15-14, has a net of 283. So I'm just going to guess. I got a feeling Norfolk State has a legitimate shot to get in. Maybe Morgan. I don't know. I'd be hard pressed to see if Alabama A&M gets in. I don't know if their record is strong enough and Coppins is strong enough. I think Norfolk State would have if I had to one of the four, if I had to say, I'd say Norfolk State has the best shot to get in. 211 is their net rating.
Right. It almost seemed like college bowl season for football. You're above 500, you're bowl eligible, you're going to get an invite somewhere.
Let's go real quick because the women's bracket is going to be coming out soon. Just to clarify, they do have, it's a 68-team field this year. So they do have a first four in the women's. And so according to ESPN bracketologists, their bracketology for the women's, they have Howard University playing in the first four as a 16 seed against Longwood. The winner of that game would play NC State in Raleigh. So Howard has an opportunity, assuming all things considered, to get in. Now, the question a lot of people have is, what about Jackson State? Well, we've already talked about it earlier. We think Jackson State will come in as a 14 seed. I'd be shocked if they came in higher, but that's a product of the net rating. They actually have Jackson State as a 14 seed playing 3 seed LSU. And that would be in a quad also featuring 6 seed Nebraska, 11 seed versus 11 seed Gonzaga. All of those games will be in Baton Rouge. So what do you know? Jackson State playing down in Baton Rouge, potentially. I think
if that does happen, I know y'all Southern fans may not be Jackson State fans, but we need you for that one game.
Look, Jackson State's going to travel. They don't need Southern fans. Hell, that you can tell you.
We still
look, if anybody's going to travel, Jackson State fans will travel. They can give two flips about whether Southern fans come out and support or not. They're going to travel to see this team. And I guess what we'll do is we'll analyze how likely is it can they beat LSU? Because I'll be honest, if they can beat LSU, come on, you got to think that there's a possibility that Nebraska, Gonzaga, I mean, that's a 6 and 11 seed. So, I mean, anything's possible as a 14 seed. It's just when you're a 15 and a 16, it's real hard. no matter which
Can you
tournament you're
imagine
in.
what the ratings will be if Jackson State wins their first game? What those ratings will be? That would probably be a Monday game or a Tuesday game, depending on whether when that opening round is, because they usually go Saturday, Monday, or Sunday, Tuesday. Can you imagine the TV ratings if Jackson State gets to that? Because I think every HBCU fan will be chimed into that game. Even the Jackson State haters will be chimed into that game.
Yeah. Just by comparison, LSU went 13-3 in the SEC, 25-5 overall. They lost in the quarterfinals to Kentucky. First round matchup, they lost to Kentucky. They had a nice little streak going on at the end of the season. I don't know if they were the 1 seed going into this tournament or not. It looks like they had a bye, so they might have been the 1 or the 2 seed in the SEC. And I'll tell you here in a second, they were actually they were 2 behind South Carolina. I forgot South Carolina's in the SEC. So LSU came in number 2 in the conference behind South Carolina. So, but that'll be, again, no fear. They've already played a couple of SEC opponents, and they actually hung with them within 8 and 6 points, if I'm not mistaken, against Ole Miss and Mississippi State. All right, Drew, let's wrap it up with now. Which of these top 5s are we reading? Are we doing today? Are these
just Division 1 men and women, because the NAIA and Division 2 brackets are locked until after the postseason is done. Just like this one will be locked until after the postseason is done.
Okay, so Division 1 final regular season rankings. Norfolk State. Woo! Look at the points there. I feel like this was last year. Didn't we do this? This is why the show is called Deja Vu. I feel like we were right here last year again. Norfolk State by 1 point over Texas Southern in terms of first versus second. Alcorn finishes 3, Southern 4, Howard 5. Drew, this is crazy because this is going to come down to a win, isn't it? A win by Texas Southern.
I was going to say that. I wonder what the computers will say with a win, a Texas Southern win in the first 4 against a lower ranked team versus a potential loss with Norfolk in the first round to the number 4 team in the nation, Baylor. It's going to be real interesting to see what number the computers spit out for that one to see who's that national champion.
Do you recall? I'm bad about this. I didn't do my research. Who was our national champion? D1 pop quiz.
Last year,
do you remember? Yeah.
No, I don't.
No, okay. We'll move forward. Let's go to the women's side. Go over to the women's side real quick. No doubt, by hands down, Jackson State comes in number 1.
Hand down,
Howard
man
number
down.
2. Morgan 3, Norfolk State 4, Alabama A&M 5. It's funny how it all works out in the wash, right? All the back and forth that people give us about our top 5 rankings and all this other stuff. Look, the computers in the end, they kind of get it right, don't they? You guys relying on people to do you guys relying on people and their opinions. Yeah, you can have your opinions, great. We like the computer rankings. But anyway, that's all good. But yeah, Jackson State 21-0. A great story. Look, I got to admit, man, I had so many. I watched some of the post-game presser from Jackson State, and shout out to all the HBCU media that was there. But man, y'all left some. I like, what do we tell kids on the basketball court? You leave points on the floor when you miss a layup or free throws, right? I feel like some of our reporters left some questions on the floor. Y'all, I don't know. We left so many questions. They just pulled off a historic 21-0 run. And I mean, we still caught up on this whole transfer thing. Man, look, these kids are here. Let's stop trying to talk about, what it was like and why you transferred 2-3 years ago. The heck with all that, man. You just made history.
I'm part of the culture now. That's old school.
Yeah, exactly. You're part of the culture. 21-0 has never been done. Never. I mean, unreal, man. Shout out to Coach Reed. I think Amisha Williams Holiday keeps getting whoever keeps voting. You cabal, the SWAC voting cabal. I don't know how. Look, I like Rogan. Rogan is a tough point guard. I get. Look, she got the MVP of the tournament. No shade here, but it's like Holiday is like Jordan, LeBron. Every vote starts with her. If voting doesn't start with her and then ask, well, why shouldn't I give it to Williams? That's what you should be asking yourself. Why shouldn't I give it to Williams? Because she was killing. And one other note from that game, Drew, I'm calling it now. Alabama State, my preseason #1 in the SWAC next year. Potentially, they will have Emmanuel, Crawford, and Ward coming back. They've lost to Jackson State 2 years in a row. I'm calling it now. Preseason #1 in women's basketball, Alabama State coming back hungry next year. But I just probably just motivated Jackson State for next year. But anyway, I just had to put that out there. All right, Drew. Anything else we wanna hit on before we close up shop?
No, just whichever one of these teams get into the postseason, let's go out. Let's support them. Once again, I want to thank everybody for their thoughts and their prayers thus far this week, and it's going to be a trying week for myself and my family. So just remember that keep us uplifted in your thoughts and your prayers, and I'll try to be here next week, Brian. Maybe not. You know how that goes. We just went through it with you. So, but no matter where I'm at, I'll still be rooting our HBCUs on.
Well said.
And here, shocker, Brian. South Carolina State is the #1 overall seed.
wait a minute.
Let's hold the broadcast. Howard is a 16. They play in Carter Word.
In the first four.
Yeah,
I'm going to go back to what you said is the real shocker, Drew. The real shocker is you just said South Carolina State is the #1 overall.
No,
seed.
I said South. Did I say State? My bad. South Carolina is the #1 overall.
State. That would be breaking news right there.
South Carolina is the #1 overall. Howard is
that would
16.
Be breaking news. Yeah. All right. So go watch the women. Let's figure out where Jackson State is going to be. Let's celebrate them. Let's watch the NIT later tonight. Again, March Madness bracket contest, bracket challenge on NCAA.com. The password, again, to get into our group name is MyBCSN space 2022. The password is MEAC-SWAC. All capital letters, MEAC-SWAC. Come join our group, be a part of our contest, and let's have some fun picking our brackets, following along. Great basketball action coming up, and just my final thought and words are, it's a great reminder. I know personally what has come out of this is just a reminder to stay in touch with your family. I know everybody has different relationships with their family. Even if it's a text or a call, let them know you love them. Let them know you're thinking about them. It doesn't have to be long. It can be short. I know I'm working on that because you don't know when that last time may be to say you love them, and you don't know when that last time will be that you get a chance to hug them. And so take advantage of those opportunities when you can. That's going to be it. Keep Drew and his family in your thoughts and prayers. On behalf of our producer, Roy, thank you guys for watching, following the BCSN Pod Zone. We're a bit behind. I apologize. My fault. We'll get it squared away. All of our podcasts will be coming up here, and you'll be able to follow along. So no interns. I'm learning how to take full responsibility. Not blaming no intern this time. It's all me. All me. That's another thing I'm learning. My mom would tell me to stop putting it on other people. It's you. You did it. So yes, Mama, it's on me. My fault. That's gonna do it for AD Drew.
I needed
I'm
that
Brian
laugh.
Fulton. Thanks for watching the Sports Wrap, and make sure to check in Tuesday night. Right back on the BCSN Sport with Dr. Cavill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I know the Doc and the crew were at SWAC championship game, so I know they'll have a lot to talk about on just everything that went on, and then they'll also be breaking down the tournament selections as well. That's going to do it. Again, NCAA Men March Madness Bracket Challenge. Go to ncaa.com. My BCSN 2022 is the group. Password MEAC-SWAC. All capital letters. All right, that's going to do it, folks. We are out of here. Peace out.
I'll holla.
But stay on hard.